All right, now we go to Nicolas Davies, author of Blood on Our Hands, The American Invasion and Destruction of Iraq, and Gerard Wittstadt, legal advisor for the Hispanic Leadership Council. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Nicolas, let me start with you. Help me. I understand it's fool's play to attempt to get inside the mind of a terrorist. I'm having trouble understanding why target an event attended by all of these religious figures who are celebrating the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. Who could have done this and why?
Well, let's start by understanding one thing, that the Salafis or Wahhabis, you know, the religion propagated by Saudi Arabia, do not celebrate the birthday of Muhammad. They regard that as a form of idolatry. So extreme Salafi, Wahhabi militants or terrorists could, you know, they have a religious basis for attacking people celebrating Muhammad's birthday. They were attacking a group of Islamic scholars, and one of the dangers here is that one Islamic scholar in particular has been named by the Taliban as someone who they would find acceptable to head a transitional government in Afghanistan. That is Abdul Sattar Sirat.
And I take it that he was not one of the ones who were attacked, correct?
We don't know that.
Oh, we don't know.
I don't know.
Okay, let me go to Gerald. Gerald, you know, this speaks to the chaotic situation in Afghanistan. And of course, our troops, the United States troops, have really a triple threat that they face daily. This kind of terror, the forces of the Taliban, and the friendly fire attacks that they've suffered through. It's an awful situation.
It is an awful situation. You know, just last week we had the former mayor of, or 2 weeks ago we had the former mayor of Utah killed in what looked to be some type of friendly fire type of incident. So yeah, our troops are certainly faced with a lot of struggles in Afghanistan now as they try to execute President Trump's exit strategy from Afghanistan.
Well, speaking to that exit strategy, Nicolas, the U.S. Special Representative to Afghanistan, just finished up 3 days of talks with the Taliban representatives in Qatar. Any progress you see coming out of those meetings at all?
Well, there is some progress, but what the Taliban are asking is for the election scheduled by the Afghan government and the U.S. for April to be called off. And in fact, Professor Sattar has offered himself as possibly taking part in some kind of transitional government. Really, you know, for the U.S. to finally be negotiating seriously with the Taliban, you know, because the Taliban have been so successful in gaining ground in the war, you know, the U.S. is in a terribly weak situation. And the U.S. really, if they really care about bringing peace to Afghanistan, they really are going to have to set aside a lot of the control that the U.S. has exercised over Afghanistan for the past 17 years and some U.S. interests behind the U.S. role.
Let me go to Gerald. You had mentioned Trump's strategy in Afghanistan. What are the goals at this point? I mean, I could see that we just can't leave and hand back the country over to those who would do harm to the U.S., but what is the end game in your view?
Well, it's interesting. President Trump, when he talked about his exit strategy in August of 2017, actually told the American public that his instinct was to immediately pull out, and that once he became president, he gave it a lot of thought and realized that probably was not a wise decision, and essentially agreed to keep our combat troops in Afghanistan under the status of forces of agreement. I think we have about anywhere from 8,000 to 13,000 American troops. Their primary role right now is to hunt down and kill terrorists. Secondary role is to support the Resolute mission, to assist the Afghan national forces in the war against the Taliban.
All right, and briefly, Nicholas, very briefly, what's your vision for an exit strategy for the U.S.?
I think a political transition, instead of trying to hold new elections, which will simply be a focus point for more violence, a political transition with somebody like Professor Sattar Sirat, who is widely trusted. He was the most popular candidate to become president in 2001. He's now about 80 years old, and the Taliban have indicated that they would trust him as an independent figure to lead a political transition.
All right, gentlemen, I thank you both very, very much. Very complicated and difficult situation. I thank you for your input.
Thank you, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too.
Thank you.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.